Imagine standing in the middle of a raging storm, lightning cracking, winds howling, waves crashing against the rocks. Most people panic, desperately trying to fight the wind or shield themselves from the rain. But in this chaos, one man stands calm, unshaken. His name is Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome. How did he achieve such serenity in the midst of turmoil? The answer lies in mastering the one battlefield that no storm, no enemy, no tragedy could ever touch: the battlefield of the mind. Today, we will walk side by side with Marcus Aurelius and uncover 7 timeless Stoic lessons that will help you control your emotions and live with unshakable clarity. These lessons are not just philosophy, they are practical tools you can use in your everyday life, in moments of anger, sadness, or fear. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by emotions, today's journey will give you an anchor to hold on to. And it all begins with the first lesson: control what you can, accept what you cannot. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This principle is called the dichotomy of control, a central pillar of Stoic philosophy. It may sound simple, but once internalized, it has the power to transform your emotional life. Every single day you face countless situations. Some you can influence, others you cannot. Imagine you're planning your dream wedding, and suddenly it rains. You cannot control the weather, you cannot command the clouds, but you can control how you respond. You could complain, curse the skies, and let the rain ruin your day, or you could embrace the moment, dance in the rain, laugh with your guests, and turn it into an unforgettable memory. That choice between bitterness and acceptance is where true strength lies. In modern life, this principle is just as relevant. According to the American Psychological Association, nearly 72% of adults report feeling stressed about events beyond their control. Things like the economy, politics, or even traffic jams. Yet studies show that people who focus on controllables, on their habits, routines, and mindset, report 35% higher levels of resilience. That means your happiness does not depend on the stock market, your neighbor's opinion, or whether it rains tomorrow. It depends on mastering the art of directing your energy only where it matters. Marcus Aurelius himself faced plague, wars, and betrayal. Imagine ruling an empire while sickness sweeps through your city, enemies press at your borders, and even your closest generals plot against you. Any man would break under such weight. Yet Marcus wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." He could not stop the plague. He could not prevent enemies from attacking, but he could control his judgment, his discipline, and his response. And that made him one of the most respected emperors in Roman history. Here's a simple exercise you can try today. Draw 2 circles on a piece of paper. In the first circle, write down everything that worries you. In the second circle, write only the things you actually control. Then compare the circles. You'll notice most of your stress belongs in the first one, the things outside your control. Starting today, commit to releasing those and pour your energy only into the second circle. This small shift will save you hours of frustration and help you reclaim inner peace. The Stoics believe that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Think back to a time you failed a job interview, missed an opportunity, or faced rejection. At that moment, it felt devastating. Yet months or years later, maybe you realized it was a blessing in disguise, a door closing so another could open. That is the wisdom of Stoicism. What seems like misfortune often becomes the foundation of growth. So the first step in mastering your emotions is to separate the controllable from the uncontrollable. But once you know this, what do you do in the heat of the moment when anger rises or fear grips you? That's where the second Stoic lesson comes in. Reflect before reacting. Stay with me, because this single practice can change not just how you feel, but how you connect with others, how you lead, and how you love. We've learned the first Stoic principle: focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. But here's the challenge. What happens in the very heat of the moment? When anger flashes, when an insult stings, When fear rises in your chest? This is where Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics give us a practice that is both simple and profound. Reflect before reacting. Imagine Marcus Aurelius standing in the Roman Forum. A senator insults him, questioning his judgment, mocking his authority in front of others. The natural impulse for any ruler would be rage, perhaps punishment, humiliation, revenge. But Aurelius does something different. He pauses. He breathes. He lets the initial fire of anger burn itself out before deciding his response. That pause, that reflection, was not weakness. It was strength. Marcus understood that the first reaction is often the least wise, born from instinct and ego. Reflection transforms instinct into choice and choice into wisdom. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Seneca added, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Both point to the same truth. The gap between stimulus and response is where our freedom lies. When you pause, even for a few breaths, you reclaim control over your emotions instead of letting emotions control you. Fast forward 2,000 years. You open your phone and see a harsh email from your boss. Your instinct is to reply immediately, defensive, sharp, maybe even rude. But research from Harvard Business Review shows that employees who pause before responding to conflict report 27% fewer long-term workplace issues. Why? Because reflection cools the fire. It turns reaction into response. Another study from the University of Michigan found that taking even a 90-second pause before responding to a triggering situation can significantly lower stress hormones like cortisol. 90 seconds. That's all it takes to turn anger into clarity. And reflection isn't just about calming yourself, it's about understanding others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself, what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize?" When you pause, you give yourself the chance to ask, why did this comment hurt me so deeply? Could the other person be under stress? Did they mean harm, or was it carelessness? Suddenly, the world is less hostile, and your relationships become bridges instead of battlefields. Here's a Stoic-inspired exercise you can try today. When triggered, breathe deeply 3 times. Count slowly. Inhale for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6. This slows your nervous system. Then ask yourself 3 questions before responding. Why did this trigger me? What outcome do I want? Will my immediate reaction help or harm? Only then respond, or sometimes choose silence. This 3-step practice has been used in modern therapy as well as leadership training. It's Stoicism applied in real time. Psychologists estimate that 90% of our regrets come not from what others said or did, but from what we said or did in anger. Words spoken without reflection can burn bridges that took years to build. But reflection, just a few seconds of pause, saves friendships, careers, and marriages. Reflection is not passivity, it is active self-mastery. To pause before reacting is to say, I will not let anger or fear dictate my actions. I will choose. As Marcus Aurelius himself wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. Imagine applying this daily, before replying to an email, before raising your voice at your child, before arguing with your partner. Each pause becomes a small victory over chaos. So the first lesson gave us clarity about what we can control. The second has shown us the power of pausing before reacting. But what if emotions still overwhelm us? What if every piece of news, every argument, every challenge pulls us into the drama of life? That's where the third Stoic lesson comes in. Practice dispassion, learning how to observe life's storms without being swept away. We've learned to control what we can and to pause before reacting. But sometimes emotions still surge. Anger, fear, sadness, even excitement. The Stoics never told us to erase emotions. Instead, they taught us a higher art, to practice dispassion, to engage with life, but not be enslaved by it. Imagine sitting in a theater. The actors laugh, cry, scream, and fight. You feel tension, sadness, even joy. Yet deep down you know it's just a play. You don't leap onto the stage to rescue the hero or argue with the villain. You observe, you experience, but you remain in your seat. Marcus Aurelius invites us to live like this. You have power over your mind. Outside events are but spectacles. Life is the play. You are both participant and observer. The key is balance, feeling emotions without becoming their prisoner. Now, why does dispassion matter today? We live in an age of information overload, breaking news, social media, endless notifications. If you react passionately to every update, you'll be exhausted before noon. Practicing dispassion gives you a buffer, a shield. It helps you respond thoughtfully instead of being tossed around like a ship in a storm. In fact, a 2022 study from the American Psychological Association found that people exposed to constant negative news who practice detached observation showed 23% lower stress levels compared to those who fully immersed in the drama. Calm observation is not indifference, it's survival. When debates in the Roman Senate grew heated, Marcus Aurelius often sat quietly, listening. He wasn't cold or passive. He was gathering perspective. And once the storm of emotion passed, he spoke with clarity. His words carried more weight than the shouts of others. That was dispassion in action. Not detachment from duty, but detachment from chaos. Here's a practice you can try. When overwhelmed, imagine sitting in a theater. Your emotions, anger, anxiety, joy, are actors on stage. Name the emotion out loud or silently. This is anger. This is fear. This is excitement. Watch it perform without rushing to act. Remember, emotions are messengers, not masters. Modern psychology confirms that labeling and observing emotions in this way can reduce their intensity by up to 40%. Dispassion doesn't mean suppressing emotions, it means refusing to let them drive your choices. As Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And true bravery is not fighting every emotion, but learning to sit calmly while they pass through. So far, we've learned to control, to pause, and to observe without being swept away. But here's the question: how do we know which emotions and conflicts truly matter in the long run? That's where the fourth Stoic lesson comes in. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? We've learned to control what we can, to pause before reacting, and to observe with calm detachment. But sometimes, even with these practices, life still overwhelms us. Every setback feels like the end of the world. Every insult feels permanent. How do we regain perspective? The Stoics offer a powerful question, simple yet transformative. Will this matter in 5 years? Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of the fleeting nature of life. He wrote in his Meditations, "All is ephemeral, both memory and the object of memory." When Roman generals argued over petty disputes, Aurelius asked, "In 5 years, will this quarrel shape Rome, or will it vanish like smoke?" Suddenly, the urgency faded and wisdom returned. We can apply the same lens today. A missed deadline, a rude comment, a broken phone screen, 5 years from now, will these things still carry weight? Most likely not. They will dissolve into the dust of forgotten moments. Think back 5 years. What were you worried about then? Perhaps an exam, a job rejection, or a misunderstanding with a friend. How many of those problems still matter today? Research from Cornell University found that 85% of what people worry about never actually happens. And of the 15% that does, most people handle it better than they expected. This means the majority of our stress is not about reality, but about imagination. By asking, will this matter in 5 years? We cut through the illusion and focus only on what is truly significant. As emperor, Marcus faced endless challenges, political rivalries, wars, betrayals. Yet he often zoomed out, seeing life from the perspective of eternity. He wrote, "Consider how fleeting and trivial all things are. Yesterday a drop of semen, tomorrow a handful of ashes." For Marcus, this was not pessimism, but liberation. When seen against the canvas of time, even mighty empires fade. So why let daily irritations enslave us? Here's a Stoic practice you can try whenever emotions flare. Pause and project yourself into the future. Ask, 5 years from now, will I still care about this? If the answer is no, release it. Don't let temporary emotions steal permanent peace. If the answer is yes, then act with patience, strategy, and wisdom. This mental time travel shrinks trivial problems and clarifies meaningful ones. Psychologists call this temporal distancing. Studies show that people who practice it regularly reduce anxiety by up to 33% and improve decision-making because it shifts focus from impulse to long-term values. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every wound is worth nursing. By asking, will this matter in 5 years? We filter out the noise and protect our energy for what truly counts: relationships, growth, and purpose. As Seneca wrote, life is long if you know how to use it. Using time wisely means refusing to waste it on what won't matter tomorrow. So far, we've learned clarity, patience, calm, and perspective. But Stoicism is not just about letting go. It's also about building practices that strengthen us daily. That brings us to Lesson 5. Keep a Stoic journal, the Emperor's secret tool for self-mastery. We've learned to control, to pause, to observe, and to ask what truly matters. But how do we turn these lessons into a daily habit? Marcus Aurelius had a secret tool, not for the empire but for himself, a Stoic journal. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the Roman world, faced wars, betrayal, and plague. Yet at night he wrote, not decrees for Rome, but reflections for his own soul. Those writings became meditations, a private dialogue where he reminded himself to stay humble, patient, and strong. He never meant for anyone to read it. It was his mirror, his teacher, his quiet companion. He once wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. That line was not for the Senate or the army. It was for him, written in solitude. Modern science agrees with Marcus. Studies from the University of Texas show that writing down thoughts and emotions reduces stress and boosts clarity. People who keep reflective journals report 19% greater emotional regulation than those who don't. Why? Because writing slows the mind. It forces chaos into words and words into perspective. Instead of drowning in emotion, you place it on the page and step back. And you don't need to be an emperor to benefit. Tonight, take a notebook and ask yourself 3 Stoic questions. What went well today and why? That's gratitude and recognition. What challenged me and how did I respond? That's self-awareness. How can I act more wisely tomorrow? That's growth. Keep it simple. Even 5 minutes of honest reflection can sharpen your mind and soften your heart. A Stoic journal is not about recording events, it's about recording your responses to them. Over time, you'll see patterns, triggers that make you angry, practices that bring peace, choices that shape your character. Marcus used his journal to rule himself before ruling Rome. You can use yours to rule your emotions before they rule you. So far, Stoicism has given us tools of control, patience, perspective, and reflection. But life still throws obstacles at us. What if, instead of resisting them, we could turn obstacles into opportunities? That's the wisdom of Lesson 6. See obstacles as opportunities. We've explored control, patience, perspective, and reflection. But let's be honest, life will still test us. Unexpected setbacks, broken plans, failures. The Stoics never denied hardship. They embraced it. Marcus Aurelius revealed the secret. Every obstacle can become the way forward. During his reign, Marcus faced plague, famine, and war. Imagine Rome trembling, citizens dying, armies stretched thin, enemies at the gates. Any emperor could have cursed fate, but Marcus chose a different view. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the obstacle is not blocking your path, it is the path. Each hardship is not an enemy, but a teacher. Think about a job loss. At first it feels devastating, but many people look back years later and say, that loss forced me to grow, to pivot, to discover a better path. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that people who reframe setbacks as growth opportunities report 25% higher long-term life satisfaction. Your obstacle today, whether rejection, failure, or illness, may be shaping the version of you who succeeds tomorrow. Here's a Stoic practice you can try. The next time you face a challenge, write down the obstacle. Be clear, I failed the exam. My project collapsed. I lost my job. Then ask, what can this teach me? What new path is opening? Reframe the sentence. Instead of, I failed the exam, write, this failure shows me where to grow and sharpen my skills. By reframing, you transform pain into power. The Stoics didn't wait for a perfect life. They forged strength from imperfection. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, sickness, and grief. Yet he saw each as fuel for wisdom. Remember, what blocks the road may build the road. Your greatest obstacles could be the very forces that carve your future strength. So if every obstacle can become an opportunity, what keeps us anchored to joy and balance through it all? The Stoics point us to their final practice, one that turns even ordinary days into treasures. Lesson 7. Practice gratitude daily. We've learned to control, to pause, to observe, to see long-term, to reflect, and even to turn obstacles into opportunities. But what sustains us every single day? What gives us joy, balance, and resilience, no matter what life throws our way? For the Stoics, the answer was clear: gratitude. Despite the weight of ruling an empire, Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to treasure the simplest things. He wrote in Meditations, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. For Marcus, gratitude was not just a fleeting feeling, it was a discipline, a daily anchor that kept him grounded in the present, even while carrying the burdens of Rome. Modern science now confirms what Marcus knew. Studies from the University of California show that people who keep a daily gratitude practice sleep better, experience 25% more happiness, and report fewer symptoms of stress and depression. Gratitude is not about denying pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about shifting focus from what we lack to what we already have. Even in hardship, there is always something to notice: the warmth of the sun, the support of a friend, the simple gift of another breath. Here's a simple ritual you can begin tonight. Before bed, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't need to be grand: a smile from a stranger, a good meal, a moment of peace. Then in the morning, read them again. Let that gratitude shape your mindset for the day. And when hardship comes, remind yourself, even now I still have reasons to be grateful. Over time, gratitude becomes a habit, a shield against despair. Gratitude does not erase difficulties, it transforms how we carry them. As Seneca said, true happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. By practicing gratitude daily, we remind ourselves that even in the midst of storms, life offers gifts worth cherishing. And so, we arrive at the end of our journey. From control to reflection, from dispassion to perspective, from obstacles to gratitude. The Stoics left us a roadmap for emotional mastery. If Marcus Aurelius could rule the most powerful empire on earth while keeping his emotions steady, imagine what you could do by applying these lessons in your daily life. Which of these 7 Stoic practices will you start today? Share your answer in the comments. Let's build a community of modern Stoics together. And if you found wisdom here, subscribe and let us continue this journey of self-mastery.